Hey everybody, this is Vicki Davis, and this episode is amazing announcements from Microsoft at ISTE. This is for all my friends out there who could not come to ISTE in person. We are bringing ISTE to you. And a friend of mine from Microsoft is going to give you all the announcements directly. I will be at ISTE, sharing from ISTE, so check all my social media. But this will be posted just an hour or so after the big announcements come from Microsoft at ISTE. It is sponsored by Microsoft, but all opinions are my own, and these are some of the biggest announcements in artificial intelligence in education that I've ever heard. Enjoy.
This is the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with your host, Vicki Davis.
Well, I'm so excited to have Mark Sparvell with us today. He's an award-winning educator and leader with over 25 years of experience driving whole school improvement. And he's passionate about leveraging tech to humanize learning and give every person the best seat in the house. Mark, you've been on the show before in 2019. Episode 524, we talked about SEL and EdTech. So you are passionate about reaching every child, social emotional learning, and all the things that just help us engage all our learners, aren't you?
That's right. The big question is, how do we give every kid the best seat in the house so that they can connect, so they can contribute, and they can develop competence and confidence to be their best and do their best.
Today is a special interview sponsored by Microsoft for ISTE. About once a year, we'll do a sponsored episode, but it's always very newsworthy and something I'd cover anyway. Some exciting things are coming, aren't they, Mark?
There's some really exciting announcements that we're going to be making at ISTE 2023, and we're going to be sharing them in this conversation today. First of all is an amazing collaboration that we have with the New York City Public Schools around their use of generative AI. We'll be talking about some of the new features being rolled out with popular platforms like Kahoot and PowerSchool, plus also enhancements to reading progress from Microsoft. There's also a brand new AI for Educators course, which is being rolled out fresh and hot for teachers to take as soon as they're ready. So that and more coming up.
This will be released after the announcements have been made at ISTE, so you're kind of getting it along with everybody else at ISTE. So what are some of those announcements?
Probably not surprising. It's all about the power of generative text. It's about the power of AI and what Microsoft is doing both directly with our own products, what we're doing through partnerships, and also what we're doing to empower other partners with their solution. I tell you, as an educator, as you said, of 25 years, there's some things that are going to be talked about and demonstrated across the 3 days of ISTE that will just blow people's minds. I guess before the announcements, one of the things we know about educators is their superpower has always been asking great questions and providing great prompts to students. That's kind of the jam for teachers. We've always been good at doing that. And the tools that we're releasing and the features that are being released by our partners really kind of lean on that superpower that teachers have to be great prompters and great questioners. One of the ones that is really, really exciting is from Kahoot, which is leaning on the power of Microsoft Azure's OpenAI service to release 3 new features. And as we know, Kahoot is enormous, used by over 50% of US students. 6 million teachers use Kahoot, and over 800 million students use Kahoot. I think there's 1 billion questions that have been generated. And one of the challenges in Kahoot sometimes is just having time to build a quiz. Well, now it will help you build the quiz for you. So you can use the power of generative text to ask Kahoot to build, let's say, a 10-question multiple choice Kahoot, which is all around the solar system. And it will generate that Kahoot for you with those multiple choice questions, reducing time for busy teachers hugely. Teachers, of course, can go back in and they can tweak and edit to make sure it's appropriate. But that's going to be a massive time saver and super exciting for teachers.
So you were reminding and encouraging teachers that yes, it can generate, but teachers are still needed and they need to edit and they need to improve it to customize it to their classrooms, right?
Correct. Yeah, this is like if you like computer human collaboration. Teachers bring the best of what they know and can do, but they lever on the power of generative text and AI services to do a lot of that initial heavy lifting.
As I talk about it, AI and HI. So it's kind of giving you your first draft. But, I found that generative AI can typically get me 80 to 90% of the way there. So this is fantastic. It's going to be a big time saver for teachers.
Right. Imagine if you're an emergency teacher, you've been called to cover a class, you just briefly know, and you don't have a huge amount of time, and you know that they've been studying the water cycle and it's a grade 5 class. What you can do now is literally by the time you've walked in the door and shared out, whether it's through Teams or on a Promethean board or whatever you're using, a quick quiz to act as an engager to get a sense of what the current knowledge is, to make a connection and create an atmosphere in the class which might set you up for the whole day of success.
Yes, that's very exciting. Okay, so that's your first one, and that's huge. So what's your second?
Kahoot's also releasing a more advanced semantic search across all of their Kahoot. So searching is going to be a lot faster and easier. And another great feature is the brainstorming tool that you can do within Kahoot. Whereas in the past, as a teacher, I had to look and categorize responses. It now will recognize and will auto categorize. So if I've asked a question around what strategies do students use to study better, and it recognizes that a large group of them are talking about, I don't know, call a friend, use a chat bot, watch a video, it will automatically categorize those brainstorming into categories for people. And again, the power of the editorial and the control always sits with the educator to go back, but it's doing that heavy lifting based upon sort of clever AI behind the scenes.
So you're really kind of taking us to the next level of AI helping teachers, aren't you?
It's like becoming your ultimate teacher assistant.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so where do you go next?
Probably to Power School. I mean, Power School is used as that sort of backbone school information system by 90 of the top 100 districts in the US, and I think supports around 45 million users globally. So Power School is a big platform, cloud platform tool used to run a lot of school systems, whether it be finance, curriculum planning, assessment. It manages that ebb and flow of information. And they're releasing a number of features, again, leaning on Microsoft's Azure OpenAI services to, again, reduce churn and friction for educators. And an example of the feature that's being released is around helping to build formative assessment tools, which again can generate based upon curriculum standards, based upon the content, the parameters that the educator sets. I want to achieve these outcomes, this standard, and it will generate within the environment of Power School. It will generate the formative assessment questions, which will help guide the learning design. And again, these are super useful, suggesting, for example, students might, create a vision board if they're working on, my project is around interior design and I'm a grade 8 and I need generate some ideas for getting assessment information along the way. It will create those on the fly for educators.
Inside the learning management system.
Yep, and alignments matched. So you've got your standards alignment sitting there and you're being generated with formative assessment suggestions. At the end of the day, these are suggestions and recommendations based upon the clever prompts that the expert in prompting, the educator, is placing and requesting within the system, which is then going, compiling, and generating this unique content for them.
Well, my absolute favorite SIS and LMS has been Power School out of my whole 21-year career. Absolutely love it. Yeah, you can look back and see a lot of stuff I've written and actually done some work for Power School because I love their system. But to have the formative tools built in there that can generate, like you said, get that first draft, you tweak it, you use the human intelligence that teachers use to make it even better. I mean, that's a game changer.
Yeah, adaptive testing, the formative assessment and the adaptive testing, the two of those folded in. We're standing on the cusp of this kind of hyper-personalized learning that you know, we've always wanted. And this doesn't mean learning becoming automated. It means that learners are being able to achieve greater autonomy because they're getting the feedback and the information just in time that they need, and the teachers getting the feedback and information just in time that they need to make changes and adapt. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, and you're collapsing the amount of time it takes us teachers to create all these things that we create. So instead of staying at work till 8 o'clock at night, we can get ourselves 80 to 90% of the way there. And it's just great news for educators. This is great.
Yeah, no, and you're right about that time. A recent McKinsey study I was sharing on the weekend at Fresno Unified School District, noted that 50% of teachers' time is non-teaching. It's filled with planning, assessment, curating, ideating, building lessons, ideas, assessments, formative, summative. 50% of the time is spent on non-teaching. So it is a game changer.
It is, absolutely. Okay, Mark, what else do you have?
This is the most exciting bit. We know that, reading is more than code breaking. Reading is meaning making. And we know that literacy is a foundational skill that unlocks learning across all subject areas. So we're really incredibly excited and proud to release Passage Generator within Microsoft's Reading Progress and Reading Coach that sits within Microsoft Teams, a great free solution available as part of the M365 package. So we've had Reading Progress for a while, which is awesome in itself, where the students can read a leveled piece of text straight to camera like I am now, and the analytics engine will listen and pay attention and will provide the student and the teachers with a report on fluency, on pace, on their intonation, and will also identify miscues, substituted words, basically a running record. And as teachers, we know, they take a lot of time and attention. So that's been an awesome and much loved feature in Reading Progress. But there's also some really clever features within there for the educators. The educators are able to select the topic, so they can select the topic of the generated text, the age that it would be appropriate for the students, the length of text, whether it's short, medium, or long, and get this, even the language, using multiple languages.
Wow.
So if you have EOL students or you're in a language immersion class, the opportunities there are just massive for educators.
Wow.
So the teachers also have, and critical to this, is the ability to adjust the complexity as well. So not only does it have the challenge words, but the nature of the text can be made more complex or less complex. And this isn't about dumbing down. This is about reducing cognitive overload.
Wow.
So the learner can focus on what matters most in this piece of work, which is developing vocabulary and making sense of reading.
It's more than mind-blowing, because you've already had this great platform that students could read, and they could, the teacher could really have a lot of granular data about their ability to comprehend and teach reading. But now you've got the ability to generate unique passages. Now the teacher is still looking at those passages, right, before they go to the student.
Mm-hmm,
and then they
correctly,
can adjust. So if I think it's
adjustments.
not hard enough, I can just say, make it more complex.
Exactly, correct.
Like increasing a font. I hit that button to make my font bigger, but now I can say, make it more complex or make it less complex, and the generative AI will take it there.
This is exactly right, because it means that I can adjust a topic so that's more inclusive of students in my class. It means the student can develop mastery at their own rate and pace, getting feedback when they need it, in a way that they need it. And it's all happening within a safe and secure environment that they're familiar with. And that data is all flowing back to the teacher, because we know that the teachers are the experts in learning design. And with information, they can't help but take action to tweak, adjust, personalize, and bring their best.
So do you feel like this is a revolution in teaching reading?
I think this is a game changer, quite frankly. Again, speaking as an educator, this is kind of like the holy grail because nothing's going to replace a teacher in person listening to a student read. You know, it's a very social, emotional experience. But if you've got 26, 30 kids, trying to get to everybody, trying to ensure that every learner is getting an opportunity to develop these foundational skills, to get feedback that's timely and actionable, it's a real struggle. And quite frankly, would make me as a teacher and quite an organized teacher, I'd always feel a little bit guilty because I just didn't have time. What this does is it reduces that pressure on educators and it frees them up to do the stuff that they're best at doing, building and sustaining positive relationships with students.
What kind of quality controls are in there? I mean, are the teachers seeing everything that the kids are having generated for them? How does that work?
Reading progress and coach sit within Microsoft Teams. So the educator is in the driver's seat the whole time. And also the educator obviously has a view into all of the students' activities through their insights dashboard. So that's super important. Like other tools, when Reading Coach generates this unique piece of text, this passage creation, the teacher can edit it. So it's created at level, so the right level for the student. But the teacher has the ability to go in and edit any piece of that text at all, to make sure that it's appropriate, that it's fit for purpose. So that's really exciting. But wait, there's more. There's another feature which is mind-blowing because, again, like I said, reading isn't just code breaking. It's not a mechanical activity. It's a sense-making activity. So we're releasing at the same time comprehension question generator within Reading Coach, Microsoft Reading Coach Reading Progress. And this will do exactly what it suggests. It will take a piece of text, understand the text and the content, and generate, depending upon the parameters that you place around it, comprehension questions built around that text. And they're not just at the lowest level of sort of Bloom's taxonomy. You can be specific and you can bring them through to inferring. So there's not just going to be questions about how many cows, but there'll be questions about why do you. So it takes this heavy lift off teachers all of the time. It doesn't take away their power and control. It gives them the time that they can use to focus on reading groups, in listening to students, in talking and questioning face-to-face and in small groups.
You talk about mind-blowing. I thought my mind was blown a moment ago, and these are all new to me, like everybody else. I'm learning about this right now. So you're saying that students can have their passages customized to them based on their specific challenge words, and the teacher can, of course, go in, edit, tweak, make sure it's appropriate. It can automatically generate comprehension questions based on a variety of levels of Bloom's taxonomy based on that customized passage. And that the teacher has access to all of this as they're teaching reading.
The data from all of it is coming back into insights. I think what's important here, and as teachers, you can end up with too many things, like an avalanche, right? It's happened. We've been there and lived it. And then all of the data is lost or it's fragmented in different apps and tools. What I love about this is, as an educator, everything's in one safe, secure environment. It's sitting within Microsoft Teams. I know that the data is safe. It's all being aggregated. So Reflect data on student well-being is in the same place that this reading comprehension data is, and this reading fluency data, and the other data being gathered around students' achievements that are being reported through the assessment services. So, as an educator, I'm getting one view into what students are knowing, doing, and feeling.
And this particular tool has been around for some time. It's already proven, it's already worked, since you're just adding generative AI features on top of what we already know works in that educators already love, which is I mean, if we were getting all this at once, I could see people raising their eyebrows, but you've already pretty much tested and proven the basic platform, and now you're just adding generative AI on top of it.
Yeah, this is the enhancing bit. First of all, is an amazing collaboration that we have with the New York City Public Schools and what we've been doing with them using generative AI tools, which have been catered for the use of the New York Public Schools. One of them has already in place, which is releasing a chatbot which is fielding sort of IT help desk questions coming from students and families and teachers across the school districts. But there's a clear and clearly articulated commitment across the New York Public Schools to be leading in on finding ways that generative AI can improve the learning experience for everyone. And part of that is understanding the ethics involved, and conversations have already begun in classrooms. It's already happening right now across the New York Public Schools around the ethical uses, the problems and challenges involved in this space and place. And we see that as being one of those critical additional bits. Having new tools and features sitting in a safe environment is awesome. It's great for us teachers. The flip side, well, the other part of it is also ensuring that everybody has got the skills and the knowledge and the capability to use these tools ethically and responsibly. So the final big announcement at ISTE coming up is an awesome course that we're releasing for educators on Microsoft Learn, empower educators to explore the potential of artificial intelligence. It's a brand new, it's going to be released at ISTE course to build AI literacy. It will look at defining AI, history of AI. It looks at this explosion of generative AI, which, really only happened since November last year. By February, there are 100 million people using it. It took 9 months for, I think it was Spotify, to get to 100 million. It took generative AI, I think it was 3 months to reach that. So the course looks at the application in education for those generative tools, whether it's generating art, code, or text, and also the ethical consideration. So that course will be totally free and available through Microsoft Learn and will be announced at ISTE 2023.
And, one of the strategies that schools and teachers need to have is that we are going to have to constantly be learning about the emerging tools. There's no other way to move forward than to educate ourselves, because ignorance about AI will equal major catastrophe in your school. We have to be well educated about AI and be learning it with our students, which is what I love about what you talked about earlier. So if I'm an educator and I'm interested in taking this course, do you have a link or someplace I can go to get started?
Absolutely do. You can grab the course and take it for a test spin. It's completely free on Microsoft Learn, and it's simply aka.ms/AI for educators.
And that is the numeral 4, right? AI for educators? Or do you spell it out?
It's FOR.
Okay, so we spell it out like we should. Okay, very exciting. I think it's something I'm definitely going to be digging into also.
Yeah, it's a great course. I've actually taken it in its draft form, and it covers everything from defining AI, defining generative AI, looking at ethical considerations, and looking at practical applications for the classroom.
Wow, it's definitely something that we all need to keep up with. So, Mark, thank you for all of these exciting announcements. These are things that are really going to change education. Things, honestly, a month ago, I personally don't think I could have comprehended. In yesterday, I couldn't have comprehended. Things that are changing everything about teaching in very positive ways, but ways that are going to take a little bit of learning and getting used to. So we're really reaching an exciting day in education. I do encourage everyone listening to the 10-Minute Teacher. We run a little over 10 minutes, and that's just fine, but there are even more exciting things that you can read about all this. There are videos and resources. Head over to the Microsoft Education blog. We will have a link in the show notes. and just dig in a little deeper, because I think these are the things that we're all going to be talking about when school comes back in the fall. Thanks for coming on the show, Mark.
You've been listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. If you like this program, you can find more at coolcatteacher.com. If you wish to see more content by Vicki Davis, you can find her on Facebook and Twitter under Cool Cat Teacher. Thank you for listening.